Welcome back to the newspaper review. This morning, you're still here on High Impact Television. Like I told you earlier, we would be joined with our guest. Thank you for joining us, Cheson Kwade.
Good morning, Esther, and permit me, it's still very early in the year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir. Glad to
And
see
to our
you.
viewers, good morning. My pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Now, let's go to the fuel subsidy removal. There's been a lot of conversations about it. Some Nigerians are saying it's high time we moved on from this conversation and let us face the reality. Let's understand, what does fuel subsidy even mean in the first place? The first time I heard it was during the Jonathan era, when it was removed and then it affected the cost of fuel. That's when I understood what it meant. But right now, we're hearing a fuel subsidy removal again, even though the federal government has said that it has been postponed. So let's get to understand what it means and how it affects the economy.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you talked about subsidy generally, I think it's just a way of cushioning a certain thing, and it is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. In as much as we might decide to make our own to be possibly on fuel. In United States of America, you see the government creating subsidy on agriculture. In China, same is obtainable. So it's something that the government used to cushion the effect of the citizen in such a way that they will have a relief. But when it comes to us as a country, you discover that it's been wrongly used. Why do I say this? You are blessed with crude oil, which is the raw materials that you need in processing some of these petroleum product, PMS, DPK, and the likes. And you find it difficult to process that particular thing and shelve it out to other people. And you now look at the cost of bringing in it too high. And that's why we have asked several questions. That was the question. What is the issue with our refinery? You have there is an ideology where we talked about the people, the policy, the process, and the technology. All over the world, I can tell you that we have the good people who are the personnel, very creative, innovative set of people, definitely good and wonderful, fantastic policies. But when it comes to process and technology, we have the technology coming in. I'm sure you know that we are planning to introduce 5G, even though it's always been used in the others, but successfully we have managed 4G. What happened to the process? The process is breaking down some of those policy so that it can become a useful tool for the people to do. And that's why we missed it. And same is applicable with this thing that we call fuel. You have the crude oil and it's difficult for you. Like I always give this analogy each time I'm talking about this fuel subsidy. It's just like a man, a farmer who harvests a yam and decide to give the yam because he wants to eat pounded yam, all because he could not, he doesn't have a gas, he doesn't have a stove, and he's finding it difficult, so lazy to go to the market to go and buy all the ingredients to make the pepper. You now give it to someone, you sell the yam to him at 500 naira, and the man now send to you, I'm sure you go to some of these eateries, come back and sell to you as 3,000, 3,500. You ask yourself, is this something that is reasonable for us to hear? So government talking about subsidy or no subsidy, I'm sure when this administration was campaigning, one of their cardinal points was that subsidy is a scam. This was not something, it's in the public domain. Current Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said it, that the PDP were actually scamming the nation, that ordinarily the petrol should not cost more than 40 naira. And when they came in, when they increased from 97 that they met it during Jonathan's time to 100 and I think 40 something, then we were being told that subsidy has been removed just for it to raise its ugly head again. And people have asked, what is my perspective about it? And I tends to sound unpopular. Can we remove these things once and for all? I've considered subsidy as a monster. And if you look at the way that we are going about it, you discover that there is more to it. Now we have suspended this for 18 months. That's a well-calculated timing.
About that timing, I'll come into that, because 18 months from now it means that an administration would end. We'll get into the politics of this. Yes, but I like to say some people, some experts, and I've spoken to some here on the newspaper review, have mentioned that the timing of the removal is wrong and that the refineries should be sorted out first before the subsidy is removed.
You see, it's a two-way thing, the way I looked at it.
Okay.
NLC has been clamoring that they want to go on protest because they
Yeah.
know this is what touches the heart of everybody.
Okay.
Even if some of us know that they are toothless dogs that cannot, they are just barking, they cannot bite. If indeed they want to engage the government, we should be talking about what is the position of our refinery,
Okay.
what is the position of our health sector.
Yeah.
Because if we are saying don't remove, and it's like postponing evil day, like my people will say, let me use the local language, die na die. Whichever way you want to do it, is a monster that we have been able to unravel.
Okay.
Let's unravel it once. If it's going to create that hardship, I think, you know, when people were forced the other time,
Yeah.
last year, 2020 October, people moved out and they said, no, we are going to put resistance to this because people were fed up. They were pushed to the wall. So if you are saying postponing the evil days, they are, as we speak, they cannot, the FARC, the NNPC that are supposed to generate income is saying they cannot push in some fund, about 1 trillion for the next 6 months, into the FARC account. Where are the government going to get revenue to do what they want to? Because we all know that that's what they all rely on. And NNPC is one of the major people that make those provisions. So for me, let's unravel this monster. Whether they are going to import, they are not going. I am sure by the time they removed it, and the hardship is more, people will react. It won't be issue of NLC again, and the government will know that they have a gunpowder in their hands for them to manage.
Concerning reactions, I like to get into the business angle. Do you see diversification as something that can come up if this is removed at all? Let's look at the telecommunication sector as an example. We have options. We have different service providers. Do you think that the energy sector now can look that way so that we don't have to depend on one source for the provision of our fuel in Nigeria?
We have said that, and part of the problem we have is that this government or the government of this nation does not know the difference. We have said it that the government has no business in doing business. Leave the business for the people that understand the business, for them to do it the proper way. And that's why you can see, I've asked the question, I think it was 2 days ago on the forum, please, who is richer? Is it Dangote or the federal government? The question you ask yourself is, Dangote is a citizen of this country, but he understands the dynamics of business. The government does not understand the dynamics of business, and that is why anything committed to their ends becomes a failure. How do our civil servants treat some of these things? They treat it with gist law and say it's government work, it's whatever they do. And we have seen instances of things committed in the hands of government that has failed. And that's why for me I said, create the enabling environment, the infrastructure, leave it in the hands of the people. Several licenses have been issued. Only Dangote we are hearing that is building refinery.
Let's go to the process, the 4 things you mentioned when we started this conversation: the people, the process, the technology. So are you saying between the process and the technology, that's where we are having that challenge? That is what is causing
it's not
us.
even it's a huge gap. It's a huge gap. Not only in the energy sector, not only in petroleum, even in the health sector. Why do we have the brain drain where our people have to travel out of the country? It's because the process of actualizing some of those things are not just there, because you need infrastructure to make the process to work. And if the infrastructures are not there, then there is nothing for you to rely on.
Are we not even over-dependent on one source of energy? Because we don't have electricity in abundance right now, right? Now, when we talk about cars, people are looking, a lot of countries are looking at ways to
move away from the fossil.
Yes. So looking at climate change and all of that, don't you think that this is something that is going to give us an opportunity to think the other way?
I'm sure was it 2020, late 2020 or early 2021, we heard about the vice president leading the team on how they are going to provide to us electric vehicles. I don't know if you had idea of anyone running as we speak.
Just as of yesterday, there were still some updates as to conversion of vehicles, about 200,000 plans to convert vehicles.
After a year, we are still talking about the process of conversion.
Yes.
What they prompt us then was as if this thing will come to bear within 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And if you look at it, the power sector also is another monster that I can't understand how we need to unravel it, because the pressure that we have on fuel consumption is basically a failure of the power sector. An average person, I'm sure this organization where I am now, you are on generator. And if you look at it that you're on generator, you ask yourself the number of fuel, either diesel or petrol, that you consume. If there is power supply, that portion of consumption would have reduced some of the pressure that will put on it. So you see that this thing is interrelated, and because the government, as far as I'm concerned, is not just they are hell-bent possibly to impoverish more of the citizen than lifting them the way they claim to do. Because if you have those infrastructure in place, I think the people will just be they will have the enthusiasm to go ahead and launch into the business. But the policy of the government will not even support some of these things. And that's why we're having these major problems here and there.
Let's go to the Federation allocation accounts. We have news this morning that still on subsidy, NNPC may deduct over 1 trillion naira from the FAAC, the FAC, in 6 months. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited may deduct over 1 trillion naira in the next 6 months from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, following the decision of the federal government to continue subsidizing premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. Do you perceive more borrowing? Somewhere on the Guardian newspaper, it was mentioned that borrowing is going to get into another level.
Borrowing is inevitable when your expenses cannot match up with your revenue. It's just a common thing. I don't think you need to go to school for that. If you earn 100 naira, and your expense every time is about 150, 200, how do you augment those things? You have to go and borrow. If you don't borrow, you steal. And federal government cannot steal. You know, where would they steal from? From their resources. So they will resort to borrowing. And that's why we have said that the monster, you know, unraveled round subsidy should be opened up. If they want to remove it, then we'll be able to hold them and say, well, it is you that have actually put us to this level of importing fuel. You fail to fix our refinery for us to process this thing. And at this point, now that you have increased it, we are taking you up by your word. And you will see several reactions, not the one that the NLC is calling from. I'm sure individual will definitely, but with this that they have done, what they have done is postpone the evil days. And the next administration, I don't think those ones will be smiling now. If anybody knows the doom that awaits them, everybody will run to take the position to be the next president.
We have seen the problems here. Now let's look at ways in which you believe that this can be resolved. This is an industry that has drained Nigeria of its resources, and even the resources we don't have. You know, refineries that are not working. And what do you think is the way forward as it is right now?
First and foremost, if the government are serious, we've had allocation or budgeted value for the turnaround of the refinery. Let's hold them accountable. This money have been disbursed. Isn't really being turned around. Fix a refinery first, second, fix a refinery, third, fix a refinery. The other one is you've issued licenses to individuals to set up refinery, modular refinery, and the main one like Dangote is doing. What is the problem what is the bottleneck? Why is not coming to actualization? Let's have understanding of it so that not just only Dangote, we can have 1, 2, 3 people invest in such and see Nigeria is the only country that has crude oil and send out its raw material to other countries to process. Saudi is not doing that. Other countries that are into this production of crude are not doing that. So let that be done. But if we must even continue with subsidy that we have found ourselves, we have said, can we have a template? Although we have a gap. And what is the gap? Database. We have talked about the issue of name, everything to have can we have database of saying this subsidy will not be paid at the point of entry because we have it in the public domain, and it's what we know. That some of these things are actually being paid for and being diverted to other neighboring nations that are enjoying this. So what we suggested is that let this subsidy be paid for at the petrol station. Then you can have cards, category of cards of individuals that are entitled to this. Those days in Lagos, we used to have routes for vehicles. People moving from Ikorodu to CMS, Ikorodu to Ojota. Then you'll be able to say, okay, averagely, even if you have to work for 20 hours, this is the cap. And we put that on your card so that you don't go ahead, buy fuel, and sell to people that we are charging high, on that particular thing. So that would discourage the atmosphere of saying you are paying subsidy. Then the people that are supposed to benefit from the subsidy will benefit straight, because then you have more of the commercial vehicles, enjoying this, the low income earner. The idea that they are bringing, suggested by the Minister of Finance, I still don't know the yardstick of saying they intend to be paying 5,000 to cushion the effect. I don't know, because if they have to pay that, I think maybe I'll count myself as one of the people that should be beneficiary.
In that category at all.
No, why would they say?
You are not in that category.
They should come out and tell us the yardstick of picking those people. And that's what we're saying.
Yeah. Even to pick those people, first of all, do we have the database?
That's the gap I said we are. Because if we have, then the next thing is to have something like a voter's card, a card, where you can take to the filling station, like you do in developed world. Just insert the card. The card, he already knows. Press whatever you need to press, and you go. We are already in AI technology age, where you don't need the interference of anybody. Once your card is programmed, you know the highest or the maximum number liters that you can buy, and you go. So if we have factored subsidy into your card, we control it automatically somewhere. If we discover that your level has changed and you have left the level at which you should enjoy, definitely we'll take up the cap. We should make use of technology.
So you're saying those that can pay more should be able to pay more?
Just the same way we have it in tax. If you earn more, you pay more. So not that everybody tends to say it's the elites that are advocating for this subsidy, that you should not remove it. But we have said that the elites need it, the people who are the masses, they need it, but those down the drain, they need it more than the masses. So let's balance the act, create the atmosphere, not this one of saying that we want to be paying 5,000 to individual. That should not work. Because if you make use of that, the man that is driving the mass transit, because he has the benefit of buying the fuel at a cheaper rate, definitely will charge less. Then we will be able to control the charges of the commercial people, then the downtrodden. So if I decide to enjoy that, then I will just park my vehicle, join the mass transit, and know I am benefiting from the subsidy. At that point in time, everybody that needs to benefit from the subsidy stuff will benefit, not the one to say, the money they shared during COVID. How many people got it?
Oh,
the palliative.
That's
so when we have seen that failure, where are we venturing into another one? So much trillions was shared during COVID, and people complain that they never got anything, they never got any fund. So government should just be determined to do what is needful. Let's have a quality database that we can refer to make things work.
You like you mentioned, it is unpopular. Your views are unpopular, quite all right. Knowing that the evil days are just being postponed and technology can be used to, deal with subsidy in the fuel subsidy removal in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your views, Mr. Sheson Okwuade. Thank you for joining us on the newspaper review.
Thank you very much.
We'll probably have to pick it up from here some other time and, have, as it unfolds, have bigger conversations on this.
I'll always be available to those.
Thank you so much for joining us. You're still watching the newspaper review this morning. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll go to papers outside Nigeria. You want to stay tuned for that. To stay with us.